Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Resolve. In the last episode, we had this witness testimony by Gina, and if we could look around, we would see that Barak von Zieks is actually at her side, also supporting her, or could I say, supporting her really? He's with her in the witness stand, and we pressed all the statements that we got here, and the thing is that on this statement specifically, there is actually something very strange going on, because there is this statement, where is it, blah blah blah, there's somewhere here it should be, so Inspector was not there at the Gentleman's Club. So this is about the Gentleman's Club. And Kazuma says, because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. And this is where Ryunosuke reacts. So I think that actually we are supposed to press this very last statement, and then there is going to show up a dialogue, and then we are going to... Oh, okay. Okay, let me just show you what I think that we are supposed to do. I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find resolve. What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... and this is where I'm going to present Kazuma. Where is he? Come on, Kazuma. You should be here somewhere. Aren't you here? There you are. Okay. So, we're gonna present Kazuma by you, Kazuma Asogi. Me? Is there some attempt to filibustering counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi said? Well, I think it's actually the trunk. And the reason being, if we open it up... let's have a look inside. Yeah, we did that already. If we look inside, there we go. There is this metal piece lunging on the side. And that metal piece seems to be... so this can't be really a knife or anything. This has to be done with a blade. And, well, Kazuma does have Karuma, right? So that's my thought process here. I don't know if it's right or wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll have to spend more time on thinking on that. I'm really sorry about that. But I think it's the trunk.
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson.
A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain? And a relatively fresh one, too.
What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips?
Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed.
That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, in hoping to sell it. But I found it, me, with me nose for trouble. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, he said this, Kazuma.
Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk.
So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk?
We know the man went on trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection!
But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On 31st October, where exactly were you?
At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke?
Kazuma, what did you...
I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it can only have been for one purpose.
Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing.
Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt?
That you were there, that day, in the same place as the inspector.
He was there? With Gregson?
There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret that Trunk can tell us.
I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it, but I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right.
The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson?
Well, and that's the thing, guys. Let's have a look inside. And, yeah, as I already put it, I think it's here. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk there. It's glinting.
It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort, but it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it.
Well, don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. Yeah, okay, let's present that. There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade.
A blade?
Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma.
Of course it is.
Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see?
Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer.
Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk.
That won't be necessary.
There we are.
Oh no!
The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed? Kazuma Asogi?
Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me.
And the mission was?
The assassination of the monk. What? What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jijoku. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it.
We can't believe Kazuma-sama. I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day.
On the 31st, I boarded the train from London with Inspector Gregson. We travelled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan.
You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin?
Jigoku, sorry guys. Exactly. He wasn't there though. We decided to wait,
But you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway.
I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. A boarding house in Dunkirk? My signature will be the register book. It will be simple enough to verify.
Then, what became of Jigoku?
Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk?
I don't need to answer that. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of the Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case, and accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter.
Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence.
As you wish, my lord. The Great Sword Karuma has been entered in the court record. Great Sword Karuma, the illustrious blade passed down through generations of the Asugi clan. The prized sword's tip has a small piece missing.
We must take immediately action now, to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed.
What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday.
How did you...
When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise.
You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed?
The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks?
If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you.
Order in court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes.
Now?
Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst.
Oh no, not Judge Jigoku!
No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who had only just arrived in the country. Except, that is,
For the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago.
I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake,
My lord?
I sincerely hope we are successful. If we are unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes.
Oh man.
Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare.
I can hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories.
I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control.
I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options.
Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Shorm stole that Iris gave us. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Perhaps now's the time. What should I do? Pull Harley's ears or not?
Of course we're gonna pull it. I want to know what it's all about.
Here goes then. I'm going to do it.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo.
No looking back.
Yeah. Ow!
That scream sounded like Mr. Shorm's. Mr. Shorm, what? Where are you?
Here, my dear fellow, here.
It's the felt doll. Is the felt doll talking? Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. All right then, I'll put all my strength into it.
Heave. Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off.
Mr. Shorms, where are you?
Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse.
The SS Grouse?
She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour.
You've taken a ship to France?
Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time.
So, you mean you already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place?
Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name?
Sherlock Holmes, world-famous great detective.
Recited to perfection. Well done.
You're a genius, Mr. Holmes. That's the only word for it.
Ow, 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 ow! Mr. Sato, gently with the genius's ear, please.
Oh my, I'm ever so sorry.
If I may, Sholmes.
Ah, there you are, Mikotoba.
You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined the notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket.
But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert the fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say...
Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful.
Until later, then.
Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first.
Ow, 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 ow! You shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion.
Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes?
Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine.
Whilst they know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long.
There are times, Mikotaba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin!
First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow.
Why you are loitering here? Who are you?
My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you?
Do you not... Oh, sorry guys.
Ah, the Sholmes.
Do you not recognize well-traveling great sailor Thinking Stroganoff when you see? Great detective. Ha! I don't think so.
Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine.
Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes?
I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold.
What are you talking about? Leave now!
How distressing my loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard his Russian steamship, in fact.
How could you know this?
Elementary, my dear Mikotoba.
I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku.
There is no one with this name on board.
But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage.
Oh, you mean Eastern Man? He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think.
What? Are you sure? So Seishiro's realized that we're after him, has he?
His cabin is on the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please.
No, I have orders not to let even mouse inside.
Mikotaba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area.
Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right?
Curses, the plan is ruined.
And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes.
Forget it, cabin door is locked. Even if I'm not here, you cannot get inside.
Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you?
Opening any lock?
Within a mere 5 seconds. So, if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I?
Good man, so the game is afoot.
Ooh, well guys, it seems like in the middle of this trial we still have an investigation to go through, so that's really cool. I really like that. But we are nearing the half-mile arc, and I think this is a very nice opportunity to call it quits for this episode, because The last episode was very long as well. So if you want to know how this investigation is going to unfold, which is also very cool that we are actually, our assistant is Sholmes, and we are Professor Mikotoba, Watson. We are actually Watson, so that's really, really cool. I really like that. So if you want to know how things are going to unfold, you'll have to tune in next time for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Resolve. See you then.